Look, the EU Council of Prime Ministers and some other heads of states on the 19th and 20th of December 2013, on any reading of the communiqué that followed, resembled in large part a meeting of militarists and armament industry executives. It's quite extraordinary, but a full half of the communiqué is about an intensification of militarisation in the European Union and the promotion of the creation of weapons of mass destruction and the industry that does this. Just listen to the language of the communiqué. I quote, "Fragmented European defence markets jeopardise the sustainability and competitiveness of Europe's defence and security industry." Again, the common security and defence policy will continue to develop in full complementarity with NATO, a military alliance armed with nuclear weapons. Again, the European Council calls on the Member States to deepen defence cooperation by improving the capacity to conduct missions and operations and by making full use of synergies in order to improve the availability of the required civilian and military capabilities, supported by a more integrated, sustainable, innovative and competitive European defence technological and industrial base. And again, increasing the effectiveness, visibility and impact of the common security and defence policy, enhancing the development of capabilities and strengthening Europe's defence industry. And then again later speaks about a well-functioning defence market. Now, what does all this mean in reality? It means a major push to strengthen the armaments industry in the European Union. And what is the armaments industry? Well, it's an industry where obscenely hundreds, at least, of scientists, engineers and designers do nothing but sit at desks designing weapons that can kill greater numbers of people over greater distances and inflict greater suffering on whoever the targets of those weapons will be. And then where there are thousands, tens of thousands of industrial workers who are obliged for their livelihoods to put those plans into effect, to create these monstrous weapons which will visit death and destruction on society, very often outside the European Union. And, you know, despite all the fine talk in the treaties of the European Union and by its bureaucracy and political and economic elites about the EU being this zone of democracy and peace and solidarity and human rights, among the biggest armaments merchants in the world are many prominently located within the European Union and prominently assisted by governments and by the bureaucracy of the European Union, in the same way as the United States industry, weapons industry, and the Chinese and the Russians are supported by their ruling elites. And what do we find further? What's called remotely piloted aircraft systems to be designed. They should be called by their commonly used name, drones. Now, in view of the horror inflicted on innocent civilians in Pakistan, where thousands have died as a result of the great Democrat Obama sending unmanned or unpiloted drones to wreak havoc on them, don't you think that that's not an appropriate peace-loving strategy to adopt? Remember what has happened in Pakistan, the civilians killed, the wedding parties, the funerals, etc., where these things come out of the sky, inflicting savage retribution and horror on innocent people, women, children, men. One would then have to ask, are these the actions of a peace and solidarity-loving establishment? And the answer is no. What we have here is the building of an imperial power. And since particularly the enlargement of the European Union, this has been going on apace. And it's quite clear what the strategy of both the corporate elite and their political representatives, which are the major parties within the European Union, their aim is to build a new capitalist bloc. They think with a population of 500 million, they'll have a powerful industrial powerhouse, and then they want a military wing to go onto the world stage and vie with the other major capitalist blocs, the United States, Russia, India, and China as well, for markets, for goods, for services, and for raw materials. So that's really the agenda here. And the Taoiseach of a supposedly neutral state sits an assembly where all this is thrashed out and comes in here and declares his allegiance to neutrality. And Margareta Darcy, 79 years of age, ill, very ill, languishes in a jail in the Republic of Ireland, a neutral country supposedly for what? For trying to oppose the use of one of our major airports for military purposes by a major power. Quite incredible. It's capitalist competition and militarisation that has the world where it is, causing huge suffering to innocent people. If we want to create a society where the economy is for people's welfare, not profit, this is not the way we would go. We would use to plan the economies for the benefit of our people, not the creation of weapons of mass destruction. We would release the €3 trillion that's locked up in banks by major corporations in accumulated profits to bring in work for the 25 million that's unemployed, and to create an entirely different society within the European Union. That is how we will change the world. That is how the world could be changed. European capitalism will never do it. A socialist Europe could. Thank you.